Vox Day, author of The Question of Free Trade and Economic Discourse, for his comment on the latest. Hello.
Hello.
What do you make of the impact of the European Union in the first place?
Well, I think that the threats from the European Union are essentially toothless. There's very little that the European Union can do when it comes to U.S. trade policy. And so I think that it's a lot of political threat, but ultimately there's nothing they can do about it.
You mean there won't be any reprisals from the European Union? Let's look at such statistics. The exports as a percentage of each economy, Germany is 46%, South Korea 42%, Mexico 38%, and Canada 31%. China is just 20%, but we are still very much exposed compared to 12%. So
right.
All would suffer in a trade war if there would be a trade war. What do you think of the collective repercussions?
Well, first of all, I think that it's important to understand that not everyone will suffer equally in a trade war, and some parties will benefit from it. For example, if you simply look at the United States alone, and we take it to the most extreme, absurd example, and we imagine that the United States were to stop all imports and exports, that would immediately translate into a 3% annual boost to the U.S. economy. If you look at how the GDP is calculated, it's very simple. And so the fact that it might have a negative outcome on Europe, or the fact that it might have a negative outcome on South Korea, says nothing about what the impact on the United States is. And of course, President Trump has made it very clear that with his America First policy, he is not as concerned with the economic state of the rest of the world.
What do you think of the Chinese response? What would be the most likely response from China, which was accused by the U.S. government of only paying lip service instead of turning to actions to reciprocate deals that are not quite in favor of the U.S.? By the way, the United States, according to President Trump, suffers $800 billion trade deficit. That's a lot.
Well, I think I agree with the previous commenter. I think that China's response is going to be very calm and measured. I don't think that there is any advantage to China in trying to engage in reprisals, simply because, by definition, the reduction of imports into the U.S. is going to boost their manufacturing and boost their GDP. And so the best thing for China to do is to simply play a long game, play a waiting game. It's something that they're very good at. This main steel and aluminum tariff is not directed primarily at China, and so there's no reason for China to overreact. Trump will do what he says he's going to do. He's pretty good about that.
But last year we enjoyed a trade surplus of up to $300 billion with the United States. And John, the guest speaker here in the Beijing studio, says that China is likely to open up our capital market and to pave the ground, to lay the groundwork for more of the American services to be provided here in the Chinese market. What do you think of those prospects?
Well, I don't think that is going to be as effective a way, because Trump is not that concerned about Wall Street. He's not that concerned about what you call the services market. He's much more concerned about the industrial base. He's much more concerned about the working class who've lost so many jobs over the last few decades. I think that the most important aspect of that development that you're talking about is that it indicates China is not disposed to responding to Trump's harsh rhetoric with harsh rhetoric and ill-considered actions of their own.
President Trump accused his predecessors of making stupid mistakes. As a result, Americans have suffered $800 billion of trade deficit almost annually. So what do you think of his negotiation ploy to use the issue of a trade imbalance for renegotiating NAFTA with Canada and Mexico? Minister of International Trade from Canada and politicians in Mexico both made it very clear that they would not allow the U.S. government to hurt their economy, respective economy. What do you think of the war of attrition?
I think that the Trump administration's long-term goal is to get rid of NAFTA altogether. NAFTA is extremely unpopular in the United States. The negative effects of it have actually been worse than its enemies predicted. And none of the benefits that were promised to Americans have been delivered to them. And so I think that, again, the threats or the posturing of the Mexican and Canadian governments is almost completely irrelevant. Trump's made it very clear that he understands his focus is on the American working class and finding jobs, finding manufacturing jobs. That's why the services perspective that you mentioned with regards to China is really just a tactical measure. It wouldn't solve, it may solve the issue from the economist's point of view, but it doesn't solve it from the President Trump's point of view or from the point of view of the American people. And so I don't think that that is, I agree with the gentleman who said that that's not a long-term solution. It's not, because it doesn't meet the goals that have been expressed by the President.
We'll see what's going to happen next. I thank you so much for being with us.
This is Voxiversity on Vox Day.